Ask Abby, providing answers, insights, and education designed to give you the tools and knowledge you need to thrive financially and live confidently in retirement.
Here with Abby Reed, co-CEO of the Reed Financial Group, the retirement family, your resource, ladies and gentlemen, for answers to your financial, investment, and retirement-related questions is Abby Reed here on Ask Abby. And if you've got questions, you can go to goaskabby.com, goaskabby.com, and submit your questions there. Now, we recently had a change of the calendar year. We are here in 2023, Abby, and got an article sent to us about the top 10 things that we can do, 10 tips for 2023 to make the most. So let's move through it. I know that there's probably a lot of financial priorities. In fact, a lot going on with law changes and then the effects on the market from Fed interest rates and a lot of things that we're paying attention to. But sometimes just a back to basics approach can make the most difference.
Yes, absolutely. So back to basics is what we always try and remind people of. So getting back to the fundamentals. So I'm a huge baseball fan. My whole family is very into baseball.
Cheering for the Braves.
Yeah, the Braves specifically. That's the only team that I'm just kidding. So what we like to kind of compare it to is spring training. So even the players these days that are getting $300 million contracts for 10 years or whatever it is, they go to spring training every single year. They practice grounders, they take batting practice, the pitchers, figure out their grips and all of that stuff, the mundane, maybe even boring things that maybe you've heard a million times, but we still need to be reminded of these things because they are the most important things. It's the things that the consistent, boring, mundane things that we do on a daily basis that really leads to the results that we're looking for.
Well, and if I can make a comment there, because I coach my son's baseball team, and I tell them often that it is never a coach's job to tell you you're doing everything right. Even the best, most elite, high-level athletes hire coaches to scrutinize their imperfections and to help them improve their game even further. So if you ever have a coach that says, don't worry, you're doing everything right, there's nothing you need to change, that's probably not going to be your coach for very long. And so even though we're talking about basics here with this top 10 list of things to do for 2023, Abby, this is probably 10 items where a lot of people could use some improvement.
Absolutely. That's a really great point. And I think that a coach or an advisor of any kind is a good one, at least, is going to say, these are the areas where you would benefit from improving the most. These are the areas that you're doing a really great job on. Don't stop doing those things. So keep it up on, these fronts, and then maybe we can make some changes on these fronts, and then that combined is going to put you in a really good position. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So we're going to go through just a couple of things when you're in that accumulation stage of life and you're hoping to get to retirement, probably like we all are at some point anyways. What can you focus on specifically in 2023? I mean, I can't believe that it's 2023. I'm still using 2022 when I write dates, but it'll
happen all year.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we'll go ahead and dive right into it. Some of the tips that we recommend for getting this year started off in the right direction.
Yeah, I feel like we need a drum roll here. Number 10, make sure that your spouse or significant other is involved.
Yes, making sure that you and your spouse or significant other are on the same page, are involved in the decisions, and communication is there. I'm certainly not a marriage counselor. It's not part of my credentials. But what I've witnessed over and over again over my career is that the couples that have the most successful retirement are the ones that attend our meetings together. We put our heads together as a team and make decisions as a team, the three of us. And a lot of times what I really enjoy about what I do is there's typically going to be a point person in the couple. So somebody that deals with the finances on an ongoing basis, fills the other person in, but they're the point person. They're the ones that might be, if they're doing it themselves, they're the ones that are making the investment decisions. They're the ones that are making sure the bills are paid. Sometimes it's split, but most often there's going to be a point person. And so what we do as a part of our process when we start working with new people is we ask that both, no matter if the other spouse doesn't know anything about what's going on, maybe doesn't even care to, it overwhelms them. They trust their spouse. They know it's being taken care of. We still ask them to attend because the insight that they have, we talk more than just about money. And what we hear over and over again is, this meeting process and this retirement planning process has opened up a dialogue that we haven't had before. And, she or he is more comfortable with where we are, and she or he has a better understanding of why we're doing the things that we're doing. And that's what I really enjoy about working with couples.
Yeah, more baseball analogy. It's a team game, right?
Yep.
Can't win the game with just one player. Number 2 on the list here, identify your financial goals. If you don't know where you're going, any old road will get you there, said the Cheshire Cat.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something that I really like to focus on with finances and just in general, setting long-term goals as well as short-term goals, because I think sometimes even the shorter-term goals are most effective, because those short-term goals are going to be what gets you to the long-term goals. So maybe for 2023, your goal is increase your 401k contribution by, whatever, 1%, 2%, whatever you can do, and do that each year. And so the ultimate goal is, of course, retiring and being able to support the lifestyle that you want to have. But the shorter term goals are those more manageable things that you can take action on right now.
And by the way, with the Secure Act, everyone has the ability to increase those contributions this year. So let's all take advantage. Number 3, live within your means. Sometimes easier said than done, but an important priority nonetheless.
Especially these days, living within your means is, I think, something that we all, know that we are supposed to do and that we should do. But it's been more difficult for Americans lately. I think as a country, we've been through a lot. And what can happen with that, in my opinion, is we start to get into this mindset of, oh, I deserve this. And I've worked hard, so I'm going to treat myself. And to a certain extent, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, vacations and spending time with family and treating yourself every now and then, I think, is very, very important within your means, though. And so one thing that we help people with when they start to plan for retirement, or maybe they're already in retirement, is let's take a look at your expenses. What are you spending on a monthly basis over the past 12 months? And then we back into an income plan and a retirement plan, because if I ask somebody off the top of their head, how much are you spending per month? Some people have a pretty good idea, but most of the time it's pretty far off. And so taking a look at that, putting pen to paper and really getting a hold on your expenses is one of the most important things in finance, no matter what stage of life you're in. If I could give one piece of advice across the board, know what your expenses are and just start there. Just know what they are.
And maybe more important in retirement, when we don't have the paycheck, we only have the finite amount of money to last an unknown and hopefully long amount of years. Number 4 on the list, use pay raises to beef up your savings. So we know that the cost of everyday living has gone up, but if we are getting a pay raise, let's try to get that to pay our future selves to make retirement that much more affordable.
Yes. So this reminds me of a meeting that I was in. This was probably 5, maybe even 6 years ago. I was meeting with a new couple that I had just started working with, and they had been in retirement for quite a while and had done very well, and were in a good position. And so I was just talking to them about that. I like to get the story behind, how did you do this? What was your philosophy in life? How did you work together as a team? Because I learn a lot from people that I work with. And he said that, and this really stuck with me. He said that every time they got an increase, a salary increase, they kept their lifestyle the same, and they put that increase towards savings and investments. And he said we were still happy. We lived a great life. We still live a great life, but we didn't let lifestyle creep take over. And because of that, they were able to be very comfortable in retirement. And I think that that's a great way to go about it.
Combining 5 and 6 here. 5, tackle your debt, because interest and debt has become more expensive. And then 6, in order to avoid future debt, establish that emergency fund and make sure it's in place.
Yes. So tackling debt, especially right now, and making sure that you have a sufficient emergency fund that is truly off limits, are very, very important for everybody, no matter what phase of life you're in right now. So debt, especially the debt that's variable, interest rates have gone up. Have soared recently. So that's going to be more of an issue than it has been in the past. So that's, credit card. If you're carrying a balance on your credit card, your charges are going to go through the roof this past year. So those are the ones that you're going to want to tackle first. But anyways, just chipping away at that debt, because that, any debt is moving you backwards in a certain sense. There's some good debt, in my opinion, like property and your home and real estate, those type things. But car debt, interest rates are really high right now. So being able to tackle that, and set yourself up to be in a debt-free position at some point in time, is hugely beneficial, because that's going to keep the expenses down. And so what we like to see is a certain level of debt in retirement. A lot of people like to pay their houses off by the time they retire. So keeping an eye on that. But at the same time, figuring out how much of an emergency fund you personally need, and putting a plan in place to build that up, if you don't have it, or maybe you have more than you need in emergency funds. We see that a lot, and that's what we call lazy money. So putting some of that back to work, still in a principal protected position, but something that could at least help you keep up with inflation, because that's one of the most detrimental things to retirement is inflation over time. And so we have to be vigilant about combating that.
Now, number 7 on the list, similar to number 5 in the hope of saving more, but number 7, increase your retirement contributions / consider Roth options. Why is this one so important, Abby?
Right. So very similar to increasing your savings, and a couple of the other topics that we've discussed so far is taking advantage of the options in your 401k. So that is not only going to help you, basically it's your current self giving money to your future self. So that's the way I like to look at it. It's like, it kind of is a little bit of a bummer sometimes when you're putting money away and you're not able to spend it, and maybe I could go on a really fancy vacation with that money, but instead I'm putting it in this retirement account for way down in the future. So what I like to do is just picture myself giving it to my future self, and hopefully being much, much, much more money by that point in time. But what we're seeing right now with the Secure Act 2.0 and inflation, contribution limits are going way up. There's going to be some enhancements to 401ks and all types of retirement plans. So if you have it within your budget, to be able to increase those contributions, now is a great time to look at that. And with Roth options, so typically there's going to be a Roth option in the average 401k, at least these days. Now with the Secure Act 2.0, there's Roth options in both the SEP and a simple, which those are geared towards self-employed individuals. And that's huge because what we're seeing right now with retirees is, I would say, sometimes even 90% of their savings and investments are all tax deferred, which was a benefit in the accumulation stage because they delayed those taxes. But now they're looking at, this huge sum of money in certain circumstances, but a big percentage of that is the IRS's. And so what we like to do is diversify that a little bit more so that if taxes go up in the future, you have some tax-free sources. If somehow they go down in the future, then you can still have some tax deferred sources. You could tap those at that time, but you have that tax diversification.
Number 8 on the list in the home stretch here, diversify your investments. And we saw plenty of reason for this over 2022, right, Abby?
Yes, that's a lesson that I think has to be repeatedly learned by the average investor, because we have a lot of people, I should say, have a very short frame of reference when it comes to the market. And this is really the first, for our younger people, this is really the first big bear market that they've seen. And so maybe they made decisions in 2020 based on what was going on in that short period of time. Instead of sticking with the fundamentals and having a diversified portfolio, they took on too much risk. Or even people that were on the cusp of retirement, and they really wanted to try and take advantage of a lot of growth because they were right there and wanted to increase their accounts even more. So they got a little bit more risky than maybe they should. And now we're seeing the reason why we have those fundamentals, the reason why diversification is so important. And it's important to know not all diversification works in every environment. So right now, or last year, for example, the 60-40 portfolio that is the traditional retirement portfolio had one of the worst years ever. So different ways to diversify. How much risk should you be taking based on your risk capacity and your risk tolerance? How can you put that lazy money back to work in a principal protected way still, but continue to keep up with inflation? So all of those things need to be taken into account.
And leads right into number 9 about that risk. Transfer risk where possible. There's a lot of risks out there that we're going to be exposed to, but there are ways that in many cases we can transfer some of the liability of that risk or the potential for that risk off of our financial shoulders.
Yes, exactly. So transferring risk whenever possible is huge. Leverage is another word that can be used for that. One example that I like to use is longevity risk. So for our people that are in retirement or planning for retirement, one of the risks that we have to combat together is, how long are you going to be able to enjoy this retirement? Or how long are you going to live? How long are you and your spouse going to live? Employers used to bear that risk because of pensions. They had to deal with paying you until whatever, you were 110, if that's how long you lived. So that was their risk. That was their problem. They had the pension plans. All you had to do was put in, 50 years or whatever it took. And then you were good. And whatever you had in addition to that, you could use for other things, vacations and things like that. So that risk has been transferred onto the individual. And there are ways where you can transfer that back onto like an insurance company, for example. So using lifetime income and taking that longevity risk off the table, making sure you have those predictable lifetime income guaranteed sources so that that risk is not solely on your shoulders at that point in time. So that's one example. There are a lot of other ones, but that's a great point.
No, absolutely. Very important. I don't know if I want to make it to 110, but if I do, I want to know that I did. That's right? Most important. But unfortunately, a lot of people in this next one, number 10, bringing it home, act as though they are going to make it to 110 and put off and procrastinating, having the legal aspects of their plan in order. Abby, this is something that really any mature, responsible adult needs to start putting in place by 18, and a lot of us wait and don't get it done. So number 10 on the list, bringing it home, have your legal aspects of your planning in order.
Have your legal plan, your estate plan, your will, whatever you need to fulfill your wishes.
Beneficiary designations
on all of your accounts, all of that sort of thing goes back to what we were talking about in the very beginning. It's the boring, the mundane stuff that you don't want to do. It's a chore. Nobody wants to go and talk to a lawyer about dying. That's not fun at all. I could think of a million other things that I would rather do. And so one thing that we've done to help with this is we now have a law firm, an estate planning firm that we work with. So we're able to be involved in that process, because what has happened and what happens most of the time is we tell people, you need to go to an estate lawyer. Here are a few that are in the area that we highly recommend. We've worked with them for a very long time. And then that typically is as far as it goes. And then the next time we get together, I follow up on that. And they're like, yep, it's on the top of our list. We're going to do that as soon as we have time. And
still right there on the top.
Right. Yeah. Right there on the top. Right. You just keep writing stuff on top of that. And so what we decided to do is partner with a law firm where we could be in on those meetings. We could be a part of that process so we can provide some accountability.
Well, isn't that important that the financial and the legal planning is coordinated anyway? Aren't you going to get more out of your plan if that is the case, Abby?
Yes, definitely, because we know the intimate details of and all of the different intricacies of your financial life as our client. We know our clients very, very well. We know the relationships they have with their children a lot of the times. And so we can be a consultant as a part of that process and make sure that it's tailored to what their specific needs are. Whereas if you just met with maybe a lawyer or did it online, there's options to do that. Who knows if that's going to be correct? And it's one of those things where you can't go back and undo it. If you pass away and your beneficiaries find that maybe something was wrong or incorrect or wasn't exactly how you wanted it, it's done. Same with beneficiary designations. So you have to get it right. You have to review it, on a regular basis, especially if things change. But once you get it done, you at least have something in place. And if you can have us involved in that process, you're going to know even more so that it's done correctly. The law firm that we work with, they're fantastic. And so that process is just a lot easier for our clients now.
Well, just a differentiating factor, a value add there at Reed Financial Group. The retirement family can also help coordinate with the legal aspects of planning as well. And Abby Reed, we always appreciate the time, the knowledge, the education on these important planning discussions. Our top 10 list of agenda items for 2023, a back to the basics, fantastic reminder of the things that we need to be making sure we are accomplishing or working toward in 2023. And ladies and gentlemen, if you've got questions, if you would like a planning review, a complimentary strategy session, or an analysis of your current situation, as well as the path and projection that you are on tracking toward your goals, pick up the phone and give Reed Financial Group and Abby Reed a call, 678-442-0255, 678-442-0255, or you can go online, goaskabby.com. Submit questions there if you'd like to get answers to them directly and personally, or if you'd like to hear them addressed on the program. Goaskabby.com. Abby, once again, thank you so much. Fantastic conversation today.
Thanks, Peter. It was great. Happy 2023. And I wish everybody a very happy new year.
Here to answer your financial questions, visit the website goaskabby.com for show resources and to submit your questions and get answers, or to schedule your complimentary financial investment and retirement planning strategy session. You can also reach out to Abby directly at 678-442-0255. That's 678-442-0255 or at goaskabby.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Brookstone Capital Management, LLC, BCM, a registered investment advisor. BCM and REIT Financial Group are independent of each other. Insurance products and services are not offered through BCM, but are offered and sold through individually licensed and appointed agents. Third-party ratings and recognitions are no guarantee of future investment success and do not ensure that a client or prospective client will experience a higher level of performance or results. These ratings should not be construed as an endorsement of the advisor by any client, nor are they representative of any one client's evaluation.